and the Ladies Pro Bowlers Tour present the championship round finals of the Columbia 300 Delaware Open. For Sill to win, she'll have to defeat her nemesis, Tish Johnson, who's more than comfortable finishing match play as our top qualifier. We're just outside Wilmington, Delaware at the Holiday Lanes in Claymont. Ready now for the 6th annual Columbia 300 Delaware Open. Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm John Neighbor, and this evening we have 4 great matches in store for us. Joining me, as always, is Leila Wagner. And Leila, if Aleta Sill meets Tish Johnson for the championship, it's going to be one of the great rivalries of the season.
Well, that's right. Not only of the season, John, but actually of the decade. Let me set the pace for you. It was 1980. Tish Johnson from Panorama City, California, and Aleta Respecki, now known as Aleta Sill, joined the tour. These two players had very different bowling styles, also very different personalities. Tish Johnson, the emotional one, really played to the crowd. Aleta Sill, the inscrutable one, very reserved. These players have met 10 times in our televised finals. They are 5-5. Tish Johnson has averaged 219. Aleta Sill has averaged 218 against Tish. But tonight, the odds are in Tish's favor. 4 out of the last 5 years, this tournament has been won by the top seed.
Both of those players left-handers. There is a third left-hander in tonight's field. She starts in the number 3 spot. That's Davidson.
Well, it's been a tough year for Davidson, and by her own admission, she says it's been a subpar year. She finished 3rd in the Queens in the spring, but this year, she says, I've just been making a lot of game changes, and they haven't seemed to be going together. But this week, they did come together for her, and she hopes they stay together for the televised finals.
Starting in the number 4 spot is a woman who's been on the tour for many years, veteran Carol Norman, who, but for the last game in match play, might have been our leader tonight.
Well, that's right. She did have the best match play record of the 5 finalists. She's 16-8, but one more match last night would have made all the difference in the world for Carol Norman. If she beats Tish in the position round by 43 pins, she is our top seed, but that did not happen. She shot 171. Both Dee and Aleta went around Carol. Therefore, now Carol Norman is going to have to bowl 4 matches to win this event.
And, of course, her first one will come up against Darupo, who's already won 1 LPBT title this year.
Well, this is also Darupo's 3rd television appearance out of the last 4 shows. This week, she bowled extremely well. In the first part of the week, she was neck and neck with Tish Johnson for 4 out of the 6 rounds. But yesterday, she fell to 5th. She's comfortable from the 5th position, though. She's won both of her titles from the 4th or 5th position.
$13,500 awaits the winner of tonight's competition, but we begin with the battle between the 4th and 5th place qualifiers, Darupo and Carol Norman. Darupo on your left. Norman will start on lane 41. In Leila, in warm-up, I didn't see a whole lot of strikes being thrown. They were having some difficulty with the lanes, it appeared.
They were. It didn't appear that there was any player that had a great shot to the pocket. Carol Norman really had the best of the 5 players that I watched. She's going to be very down and in. A little bit of a point right to the pocket.
Little high leaves the 4-pin.
Very different game styles from these 2 players that we'll see. Carol Norman, as I mentioned, very down and in, straight up towards the pocket. Darupo, more of a player that likes to go away with the ball, across the boards.
Norman's 33 years old. The right-hander hails from Oklahoma City. In high school, she was a state discus champion, so she's got a lot of strength. And she picks up the spare in the first.
Interesting, you should mention the discus champion, because on the other hand, Darupo is a former all-star softball team player and played semi-professional, or what would be considered professional softball.
Darupo in her 3rd year on the tour, and she just misses the strike in the first.
Looking to carry the light hits. They really did carry well all this week. Either you had to go straight up, very directly into the pocket, hit high in the pocket to carry, or you had to try to carry the light hits. And it looks like a routine spare in the first. Marianne Darupo recently made a game change. She went from 5 steps to 4 steps. She had very late timing, still does have late timing. Watch her drop the ball right down, though, on her first step. Her feet are very quick, very small third step. That's her power step. Perfect position right there at the top of the third step. Then she's into the slide.
Gets them all over on 41.
Much more of a direct line that time for Marianne. That's going to be the key for her, is not to go away too much with the ball. If she does, and it does start to come back, she'll ring 10s all day long. It's Carol's first television appearance this year. She virtually sat out the first 8 months of the year.
She gets them all in the second.
And if you're going to make a mistake, make it that big, right? Because I'll take it. Carol Norman used a lot of the approach. Recently has been working with Fred Borden as well. Takes 5 steps. You can see there now she starts moving the ball on her second step. Again, another player with a very high backswing. Something else she's been working on is staying down at the line, keeping that good leverage position. It used to be Carol Norman would fall off her position at the line, causing her to pull up the ball or pull the ball to the left.
And she makes it a double in the third, putting the pressure back on Darupo.
What you really like to do, capitalize on the break. She did right there.
Darupo just snuck in the position round, overcoming Cindy Coburn-Carroll.
Very disappointing loss for Cindy. She just needed to spare in the 10th frame and left a 4-6-7 split.
Little high in the head pin, leaving the 6-10.
Marianne really did not feel comfortable in the practice session. Said she did not feel she had a very good shot to the pocket. So hopefully for her, the lanes start to change a little bit and she'll find something. Something we won't see, as we talked about, 3 left-handers in the field. One of these players is going to move up the ladder. They're not going to have to deal with conditions changing too much.
And she converts in the third. Puts her 10 pins back with the spare compared to Norman's strike in the third.
Marianne's having just a phenomenal year for her 3rd year on the tour. She's in 4th place right now in earnings with over $50,000. She's 3rd in average, averaging 210 so far this year.
Hits high, leaves the 4 pin again.
Ball breaking just sharply at the last minute. She went flush last time on lane 41. Now she is switching balls to shoot the spare. This ball will get into a roll a little earlier.
And so as she picks up the spare in the 4th, she finds herself 11 pins behind Norman. Norman is still in driver's seat. We'll be back with more of this first match in a moment. Carol Norman, the 1991 Robbie Award winner, the 1982 Ebonite Rookie of the Year. 2 strikes going into the 4th. She leads by 11. Seems like she's a little off balance at the end of that one. And the 7 dances but doesn't fall.
Well, that's what I had talked about, is something she has been working on, is staying in that good leverage position at the line, and she did. She fell off the shot a little bit, really raised up. As you can see that. She's just trying to get a little extra on it. And extra on it by a few more rotations, and sometimes you have a tendency to do that with your body instead of your hand.
Spares in the 4th, now leads by 10.
I talked briefly about Carol Norman taking off the first part of the year. She did not pick up a ball for 3 complete months, and she said she was really unsure if she was going to join the tour again, but it was good that she just completely got away from it. It was a burnout type feeling, and she's glad she came back.
Strong competitor. Norman's pulled 11 perfect games. 858 is her high series. Lost the championship here in 1991, but she picks up a strike in the 5th, and so that puts her nicely in position.
Talk about a number of 300 games. She was the first woman to shoot back-to-back 300 games as well. And very low match play there. Carol Norman defeated Marianne 182 to 163. Scores were high on some pairs and lower on others.
And they all come down. We talked to Marianne Darupo about that last game, the position round, where she went past Cindy Colburn-Carroll, and asked her how important is it to be lucky?
Luck is something that is good to have. I mean, when you're bowling match play, a lot of times skill doesn't get you to where you should be. Of course, I'm very lucky. Cindy bowled well. She bowled about 200 pins over today. I'm very fortunate to be here.
Now she's not looking backward, she's looking forward at the arrival of Carol Norman. Down by 10. And back to ball in the 6th. That's 2 in a row for Darupo as she turns the tails a little bit. Carol Norman now has to respond in her 6th frame.
Averages on this pair were relatively high for Carol Norman. She averaged 219. For Marianne Darupo, she averaged 213. So 41 and 42 were a good scoring pair for these two players.
Norman at 33 years of age. This is her 12th year on the tour. Spends some of her off time helping the sport of bowling with an in-school bowling program. And occasionally is called upon for advice from the other athletes on the tour. A 6'10" left over in the 6th.
Carol's also recently joined the WIBC Speakers Bureau, which I'm fortunate to be a part of as well, and it's a wonderful promotion that the WIBC is doing now. They have 12 of us that will go out and do banquets, clinics, or not clinics, banquets, any speaking type engagements that the local WIBC associations would like to have.
So they contact their leagues and go up their chain of command, or do they call a central number?
Right, they contact their chain of command. They would contact their local association, and the local association would contact the national association.
Spare in the 6th.
Both players, former Rookie of the Year. Carol Norman in 1982, as you mentioned earlier, Marianne Darupo in 1992. So 10 years of experience separate these two players.
These two athletes are tied after 6. Oh, pocket 8 left behind. What a frustration for Norman.
Beautiful shot here. Usually the 5-pin taking out the 8. This time the 5-pin looked like it went in front of the 8. Tough break. Nelson Burton Jr. once said that's the only true tab in bowling. Anymore, I'm not so sure. With all the resin equipment, the way these balls hook, I've seen some 9-pins that look like true tabs too.
So she picks up the spare in the 7th. The door is open for Marianne Darupo. When we come back, more of the first round of the championship round finals as we return to the Columbia 300 Delaware Open. Working on 2 strikes now in the 7th. 27-year-old from Susquehanna, New Jersey. Gets them all with a strong, powerful delivery. Marianne's mom is driven in from Susquehanna.
And Rosemary very excited. She says, oh, I'm on camera. She just realized it. Her sister also came in, and she mentioned her brother Brad last night was here watching, and it was the first time that he has ever watched her in a professional event, and it was very emotional for Marianne to have her family here.
That strike in the 7th put her up 11 pins, trying to make it 4 in a row now in the 8th. Messenger takes out the 10, making it 4 strikes in a row for Darupo.
The revolutions that Marianne can create just are phenomenal. The pin reaction that she gets, watch the head pin off the wall. Wow. Takes out the 10.
Very powerful player is Marianne. Now Norman running out of time here in the 8th, down by 21, working on a spare. Hits high, leaves a difficult split.
Difficult line right now for Carol Norman. If she goes straight down the board, the ball doesn't really make it back, but if she tends to point it up a little too much, the ball hooks a little left at the back end for her. So she's finding herself caught in a very difficult position. She's got to be just perfect in order to strike.
And she hits the wrong side of the 4-pin, just gets 2 of them. Leaves the 8th open. Has to come back now with some big pins.
Carol enjoys all types of sports, also reading and golf. See there, her last title was the Three Rivers Open in 1992.
And she's refound the groove over on 41, gets the strike in the 9th. Still some 35 pins separate these two athletes. Marianne is next. Again, 4 strikes running right now. Wants to extend the string to 5 here. Coming up, the Senior PGA visits the Hyatt Regency Maui Kanapali Classic. That'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Defending champion George Archer won last year in a playoff against Dave Stockton.
And while you were doing the promo, Marianne Darupo chose to take a re-rack.
It's the 3rd re-rack on 42 this match alone. First second. Finds the pocket, makes it 5 in a row.
Tightened up the line quite a bit. She's now playing right between the 2nd and 3rd arrows. When she first started, she was trying to play outside the 2nd arrow. So she just moved in a little bit and trying to keep the ball tight right in the track.
Well, a strike here will shut out Norman. 45 pins separate the two.
Best possible score Carol Norman can shoot is 214. Marianne Darupo just needs 6 pins.
And she gets more than she needed with 9 pins first ball on the 10th. So she will advance to the next match. Carol Norman will take home $3,000 for finishing in 5th place. And she'll get one more ball in the 10th. But this contest is pretty much wrapped up. Carol Norman finishes in 5th place, $3 grand. When we come back, Leila has a special guest for us. Stay with us as we return to the Delaware Open in Holiday Lanes, Claymont, Delaware. And the handshake to start off the second match of play. The lady they call Droop or Drip, Marianne Darupo, leads us off. Coming off a 236 in the first match. Struck equally on both sides of the divider.
Marianne earlier in match play defeated Dee Davidson 270 to 215.
And she leaves the 10 in the first.
Again, the ball not quite finishing as high into the pocket. Very critical here to get the ball to finish higher into the pocket, or you're going to leave half 10s all day. And Marianne is switching to a harder surface bowling ball, very multicolored bowling ball, to shoot her 10 pins.
Easy spare in the first for Darupo. Dee Davidson still working on a slightly weakened right knee from earlier in the year. At 5'9", she's one of the taller bowlers in the tournament. Hails from Florida, likes the sun. Just moved there recently. native of Santa Clara, California, decided she wanted a little warmer weather. And she bags them all in the first.
The game changes Didi has been making stand a little more erect instead of leaning over with her waist bend. If she does so here. Takes a 5-step approach, gets the ball going on the second step. Very good hand position here. She's slightly cupped at the top of the swing. Didn't appear to favor her knee.
Almost a 212 average to get into the finals. And she bags 2 in a row. Putting the heat on right away.
The only way to do it is to come out striking. The lane breakdown for Marianne Darupo. Lane 41, lane 42 appear to be the same for her. 3 strikes on each. No open. She was clean through her 236 game against Carol Norman, who shot 194.
As she strikes in the second, I should point out that the high game ever in the television finals here in Delaware was a 238. So Darupo already within 2 pins of that in the first match, showing that she's got the stuff necessary. Considering what we saw in the practice bowling, I mean, she really came to the forefront.
That's right. The lanes might be settling down a little bit now. The carry down, meaning the conditioner carrying down the lane, tends to even out the condition a little bit more.
And the 10 dances but does not fall. Frustration for Darupo. She's really controlling her emotions pretty well. She said that because of her softball history, used to be a benefit to let your emotions show because it got the whole team involved. But now she's in this individual sport. She's trying to conceal those emotions and certainly not allow them to affect her performance on the lanes. And so with the spare in the third, she's 10 pins behind Davidson.
Going back to that same theory is holding your emotions in. A player that Marianne Darupo rooms with, Aleta Sill, probably one of the best out here, that holds her emotions in, and she's been trying to learn from Aleta.
Davidson in her 3rd appearance of the year. Was the U.S. Open champion last year.
Currently 22nd on the earnings list. Not as good as Didi, 194. And equivalent to a 4-pin for a right-hander. Didi coming in a little bit high, leaves the 6. But otherwise, a good shot. You mentioned Didi captured the 1993 U.S. Open. She also is the 1991 WIC Queens champion. She only needs the Sam's Town Invitational to complete her Triple Crown, and that will be coming up in a couple weeks.
Oh, a shock as she does a double take looking at that missed pin.
Spares were not real easy throughout the week, John. You tend to square up to it. You could hit the center of the lane, some dry boards, the ball would hook by it. Let's take a look at exactly what happened. See if she hits the center of the lane a little too early. The ball just took off.
And that miss dropped her 3 pins behind Marianne.
Not something Didi wanted to do at this point in the game. Very intense look.
Almost left a small split. Now just leaving the 2-pin.
Now she looks a little perplexed. She's just, I think she tried a little too hard on lane 41, trying to bounce back up off of that shot on 42 because she hit the pocket 3 times in a row. And then she came up a little high again.
The but she finds the 2-pin in the second ball in the fourth. Now the attention swings over to Marianne. From 10 pins down to 3 pins up.
See there, her 1994 average, 210. Again, it's third on the list, behind Anne-Marie Dugan, who is number 1 on the average list, and Dana Miller-Mackey, who is number 2.
So Darupo accomplished the strike in the fourth. We talked with her earlier and asked her how she's affected by the cameras and attention of TV play.
When the camera lights go on, I try personally to get into a zone. I don't think about the camera lights. I don't think about the heat. I sit in my chair and I look down at the ground and I try to focus on where I want to hit and how I want to execute my shot. So I try to really stay focused and within myself to help myself and my game.
And very good advice for amateur players that find themselves in a stressful situation, whether it be in league competition or a tournament competition.
Then the 4-pin reached up and nudged the 2, didn't knock it down.
Sent that ball wide of target, a couple boards to the right. A little quick with her feet. Gets ahead of the ball a little too far, and then you're not able to get a good release.
Marianne alternating. Spare strike, spare strike. Now in the fifth, looks to be heading for another spare. So it's a 200 pace at this point.
It's like Dutch 200, John, as we say. If she were to go strike spare all the way out, receive a patch from the WIBC.
I think she'd rather advance to the next match.
I think you're right.
Here's Dee Davidson once again.
And high game this week, 257. Low game, 158. Almost received the Century Award on that.
Interestingly, Davidson was in 38th place at the end of the first block of qualifying. Just barely creeped up the ladder and then got into third in the last block.
Well, it really shows you how she has been working on different things in her game. Sometimes they click, sometimes they're not going to click, and you'll struggle for one block, as she did when she first started the tournament by being in 38th, and then she only advanced to 34th after that. She made her big move going into the third round of qualifying when she went up to 11th.
The woman they call Dieters makes it 2 in a row, 2 strikes in the 5th and 6th frame. Reassuming the lead, we'll be back with more of the second match of championship round finals as the Columbia 300 Delaware Open continues. Darupo now working on a spare in the 6th, finds herself 7 pins down. The lead switching back and forth between these 2 fine bowlers as she hits a little high, leaves the 4-7.
Right now, really unable to get 2 strikes in a row together. Dee has the advantage.
Now there goes the patch.
That's right. The patch is gone. Dee has the advantage. She's been throwing strikes. She's only missed the pocket one.
So the drip, leading or trailing by 9, goes back to her ball of tricks, chooses another ball.
I don't think it's nice to call her the drip now.
I'm just quoting her friend.
That's probably true. That's what they call her. She has a background as an athletic trainer.
Occasionally does some taping of the athletes, even those that she has to compete against.
Oh, beautiful shot. She just cleans the pocket. And her mother, Laurel, looking over her shoulder there. I don't think your mother likes to be on camera. What do you think, John?
I don't know. My mom didn't mind it much. Dee finished second in this event in 1992. Dieters has 4 professional titles, looking for the 5th one here. And she comes in nicely into the pocket, makes it a turkey. 3 in a row in the 7th.
Didi's really pumped up for this match. She wants nothing more to get to the championship match, try to get another title, as you mentioned, plus regain a little confidence here in 1994. Whenever you do make some game changes and whatnot, and you struggle, then, you know, even a TV show helps to build that confidence, get you back on a roll.
Well, she certainly needs to get back on a roll from last week. She didn't even make the cut. The last title she won was in 1993, the U.S. Open.
Works with Giplin team in her hometown, or her former hometown. Now she's in Clearwater, Florida. In order to work with Gip, she's going to have to travel across country. Critical error there. She went high. It's a 4-6-10.
Being a southpaw, that'll be interesting to see her try to pick that one up.
Well, she'll try to take the 2 on the right, if by chance she could hit the 6-pin light enough to have it topple over and take out the 4, but chances are slim.
And so she leaves it open in the 8th, opening the door perhaps for Marianne Darupo to get back into it. Spare strike in the 6th and 7th. Darupo now in the 8th. Finds herself 4 pins back.
Count was very crucial there for Didi Davidson, too. Had she only taken one or none of those pins, this match would have been even. Marianne working on a strike. One more strike here. She takes the lead.
2 in a row in the lead to Darupo.
Beautiful shot as she's going to step up on the approach. Total confidence, keeps the ball tight, right around the 12th board. Look at this, just a little swing. Ball stays in line, just crunches the pocket. She now leads by 6. Big shot there in the 8th frame for Didi Davidson. She's going to look back, and that could haunt her.
Marianne going for the turkey in the 9th. And the pins dance around the 4, denying her 3 in a row.
You could see the difference in ball reaction there. The ball was just going long, 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 and then broke very sharply at the last minute. You almost knew it was going to be a 4-pin. Very high career goals. She wants to become the all-time money leader, and that lady will be coming up shortly with over $600,000, Aleta Sill.
So with the spare in the 9th, her lead 5 pins. She'll await the final score of Davidson as she bowls the next 2 frames.
Didi can shut out Marianne Darupo if she gets up and strikes out from the 9th frame. She's in right now, taking a re-rack on lane 42. Each player is allowed 2 re-racks. If they would like any additional re-racks, they would ask Rick Hudson, our tournament director, and if he so desires to give them one, then he will do so. Right now, Didi Davidson needs 3 strikes and 6 pins to shut out Marianne. She's right now in the 9th frame.
One of them down. 2 strikes to go, plus count for the shutout.
Great shot on lane 42. She had not missed that lane. She left a 6-pin once, but it's this lane here, 41, that she needs to conquer right now.
The same lane she just got an open in the 8th.
Ah, the 4-pin slaps to 7. Marianne Darupo not watching. Just says, give me a chance. That's all she wants as she sits on the bench. This is what professional bowling's all about, coming down to the last shots.
Strike here will virtually assure Didi Davidson the chance to move up. Doesn't happen for her. So now the door is in fact open for Darupo, but it'll take 3 strikes on her count.
He hit the pocket nicely. 4-pin just didn't slap out the 7. She can shoot 211 if she picks it up. Now Marianne can get up and throw 2 strikes and 5 pins. That's the chance that Marianne wanted.
So 211 is Davidson's final score. Darupo with 1 frame to do it in.
And 42 again being re-racked by Marianne Darupo. Some of the racks throughout the week, we did see a few problems. A lot of players were re-racking. It's nothing like hitting the pocket and getting what you don't deserve.
2 strikes needed for her to advance.
Rack looks pretty good here.
Strike situation, and they all fall down.
Threw it good, trips out the 4-pin. Her ball speed very critical here. That's what kept it in play. Look at the ball breaking at the last minute. Just trips out the 4-pin. Says, yes, come on.
There's got to be a big sigh of relief there, but still, another needs to strike situation.
Now Didi is watching.
No reason not to. She's done at this point.
That's short.
And that's it. Didi Davidson will advance on the basis of that missed shot. And Marianne Darupo finishes with $3,562 as the weekly paycheck. When we return to Claymont, Delaware, we'll show you the other top 24 finishers here at the $75,000 Columbia 300 Delaware Open. Beginning now, match number 3. Didi Davidson will start us off against Aleta Sill. Didi's final score in the last match, 211, 206 over Marianne Darupo.
Lane breakdown, 42, 4 strikes, 41, 3 strikes.
And starting off on 41 means she will end on 42 as she gets all the pins, the 7 the last to fall.
Just saws the rack that time. Beautiful shot. Pins are flying now.
Aleta Sill, the all-time career money leader, could break $100,000 in a single season with a victory here in Delaware. She'd be the 4th woman to do it, as Anne-Marie Dugan became the 3rd to do it last week, leaving the 6th. That won't help much.
And John, we've never had 2 women do it in the same year, so this would be quite an accomplishment too. See, she qualified 2nd, averaged 212. Interesting note, she qualified 2nd here last year, but she lost to Kim Berkey, who is now Kim Straub, as Kim marched up the field. Aleta Sill starts the ball very low in her approach. Goes relatively slow to the line. Takes 4 steps, moves the ball on the first step. Little crick there in her elbow. Has always had this. It's something that she's always done. Good knee bend, stays with the shot. She's been working on certain things like ball speed.
And the pins dance around the 7, denying her a strike in the 2nd.
Has made some game changes. Been working with Brian Purcell from Ebonite, trying to increase her ball speed by also increasing her foot speed. She says, I'm also trying not to hit up on the ball quite as much, to get a little bit faster thumb release, which would enable her to hit the ball a little bit later on down the line instead of hitting up the ball, actually extend the release.
Didi Davidson now coming back in a second, working on a strike. They call her Dieters. 13 perfect games in her career. Just barely made the cut this week. Didn't make the cut last week.
See, she split with Aleta Sill in match play. One came earlier, and the final match came in position round. And getting a light hit again.
And a smile out of her. Oh, she considered that a lucky tip.
I think she heard the people screaming in the background. She definitely has some fans here tonight.
She's a very happy-go-lucky lady when she's not on the lanes. A lot of fun to talk to, and she socializes a great deal behind the spectator area. In fact, she has tried to tone down her freewheeling ways after hours.
Also works as an instructor for professional bowling camps, which she's highly involved with people there.
And she makes it a turkey in the third. Strong command in this match so far. Aleta Sill, you called her inscrutable at the top of the show, and I'm trying to see if I can see anything, read anything from her composure on the lanes. Nothing. Ice woman.
That's right. She's always been like this. You could look at tapes back in the 80s when she was on top of the world, winning week after week, and it was the same way. You did see the emotion and the fire, though.
Leads the 6.
When she would carry a shot. And we'll probably see it tonight, too. If she starts to string a few strikes, you'll see the intensity in the replays of the aftermath of after throwing it.
Yeah, the emotion's there. It's just bottled up.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it comes bursting out at the end of a big match. As she did when she won the U.S. Open earlier this year, capping off her Triple Crown. It was a big win for her Triple Crown win. We had a chance to talk with her about how it is to regroup after such an important victory.
As long as I think about just trying to stay up instead of not focusing on the negative, then I seem to do better, and I'm getting better at not thinking about the negative so much. As prior years, especially when I was bowling bad, I would always think of the negatives instead of the positives. And I have been bowling well all year, and that's the way I've been looking at things.
Well, she's looking at a strike in the 4th frame. The first one for her in the match is Didi's perfect game so far through the 3rd.
And a few of the years that Aleta has struggled, she has had some injuries with her arm, some tendon problems, also now some shoulder problems from what I understand. So she's been plagued by injuries that she's been trying to overcome. With the amount of games players bowl out here week after week, we come in, we bowl the practice session, the pro-ams, the qualifying 18-14. You get up to around 70 games a week. You can see there a knee brace that Didi is wearing for added protection. I'd like to thank Dr. Joe Irwin this week for his chiropractic services, trying to keep the girl somewhat healthier.
And the 247 stays standing here in the 4th.
Coming up very high. Didi trying to turn the ball a little bit early to get a little extra on it, and the ball's going to break sharply for her. When we try to convert the 247. Looks like she did not get out of that ball well. She's taking a piece of tape out of it. Again, when you try to hand does not get out of the ball clean, do not get a clean thumb release, you're going to turn it early.
Difficult open again. A shocker for Didi Davidson. She did that in the 8th frame in the last match.
Ball just slid as it hit the oil line. Again, spare's a little tricky here for her. She goes across lane. She hooked by the 4-pin or the 6-pin earlier in the match that we saw her bowl against Marianne Darupo. That time the ball hit the oil line and skidded.
Didi went from a 19-pin lead to a 7-pin lead on that open frame. But she's back in her winning ways in the 5th. That's 4 strikes out of 5 frames. We'll be back with more of this 3rd battle in the championship round finals of the Delaware Open. Leila Wagner. We're watching Aleta Sill in the 7th. She's 18 pins down. Working on a spare, makes it a strike.
And you saw that sigh of relief. She almost left the 6-8 again, which she did in the 5th frame on that very same lane.
Difficult split that forced her to open in the 5th. While we were away, Aleta stood up in the 5th, left an open and a spare. Dee Davidson had 2 consecutive spares in the 6th and 7th. And so Aleta finds herself 18 pins down, bowling in the 8th off a strike. And makes it 2 in a row.
And that cut Dee's lead down to 8 pins. As Dee takes time, looks over the scoreboard, also decides to re-rack.
Well, Dee calls for a re-rack there. In fact, it's the lane that has caused the 2 open frames in this match, lane 42. So she knocks those pins down, and we'll try again.
And pins look to be on spot this time.
8-pin lead, working on a spare. Double wood, the 3-9.
And coming up light, not quite getting the reaction. Last time she was up on 42, we did not see it, and it was a light 7-pin, so she's coming up lighter and lighter. It's going to be a difficult spare for Dee. If you recall, in the match against Marianne Darupo, she was shooting across lane. The ball hit the center of the lane and hooked sharply on her. Have to see what kind of adjustment she makes here. She should move to the right a little bit. Did it again. Needed to move it right, play a little bit more direct.
And that'll cost her lead. Now in the 9th frame, she's 5 pins down. Still trying to ignore, or actually, it looks like she's checking the scoreboard, realizing she's jumped up a notch.
First time Aleta has taken the lead in this match, now in the 9th frame.
The critical final few frames. In fact, all the open frames in this match have occurred over on lane 42.
And bounces back beautifully off of an open frame.
Aleta Sill stepping up to the approach. She's got a good chance to become Player of the Year this year. Anne-Marie Dugan, who seemed to have it locked up, has earned 3 titles, and you see the rank there in the second to right-hand column. That's their point standings.
That's right, in their averages. Anne-Marie Dugan is leading in average, but a win here tonight would give Aleta Sill 3 titles and put her over the $100,000 mark. It would go right down to Sam's Town Invitational, the final tournament. I have to tell you, John, both of these players, Anne-Marie Dugan and Aleta Sill, bowl wonderfully at Sam's Town. Cheryl Daniels, too. We can't knock her out. A couple more big tournaments, she could get right up there.
Looking for the turkey and leaves the 7.
As Aleta switches balls to shoot this pin, I want to mention they had a wonderful Pro-Am this week, over 1,100 Pro-Am entries, and some people that worked very hard. I know Eileen Dorman, the assistant promotional director here, and Lynn Holmquist. They did a wonderful job at promoting the Pro-Am. Columbia 300 was so excited that they are going to again sponsor the event for the 7th year in a row. Next year, they're going to bring the ladies back to the center. And there's our Pro-Am winner, Paul Brown, and Jerry Stewart, Stewart's Pro Shops owner here.
As we take a look at the scoreboard, Aleta Sill now in the final frame. Possible 205 if she goes off the sheet. Cannot shut out Davidson.
That strike right there forced Dee Davidson to get 2 strikes and 5 pins.
Davidson's figuring that out herself, isn't she?
Mm-hmm. But the important thing, Dee cannot be locked out.
It's remarkable considering she had 2 openings in the 4th and 8th.
Both in which were spare misses.
Only gets 9 pins on the second ball in the 10th frame, and that's really set her chances back.
Beautiful pocket shot. But she did force Dee Dee to throw the first one in the 10th, though, because if she doesn't, she's only at a 191 pace. Right now, Aleta's shooting 195 if she picks it up.
Picks it up she does. 195, the final score for Sill.
And Dee Dee Davidson must strike on this ball to meet up with Tish Johnson. If not, Aleta Sill will
get a chance to break 100,000 tonight. That's it, folks. Cannot advance. A difficult time for that to occur. Davidson finishes in third place, $4,200 and change. We'll be back. Championship frame when we return to the Columbia 300 Delaware Open in just a moment. And the great rivalry matchup we talked about at the start of the show is here in force. Tish Johnson just shaking Aleta's hand and sitting down. Aleta will begin on lane 41, which obviously means she will end on lane 42.
Two things to consider here. Tish Johnson has put the pressure on Aleta Sill to finish the match if it goes down to the 10th frame. Plus, she's forced her to finish on a lane that's not as good for her as 41.
Aleta starts off without much fanfare, gets all 10. Tish Johnson, the 32-year-old left-hander, the two left-handers on the lanes here in this match, hails from Panorama City, California, just this year elected as last year's Southern California Bowler of the Year.
Taking a little extra time here to re-rack again on lane 42. We've seen that re-racked a number of times tonight.
Starts off with a difficult 4-7-10 split. Interestingly enough, Tish Johnson set a tournament record for pinfall and did so without winning a lot of matches. Her match play record was 9-15.
That's right. She actually out-averaged the field. She averaged 220 for the tournament.
So we take a look at the prize money available here at the Columbia 300 Delaware Open. $13,500 at stake to the winner of this match. The loser goes home with $6,750. Tish looking for that first strike and finds it in the second frame.
And a much better shot. I was kind of surprised at her opening shot, other than she had to wait a few minutes before she actually had a chance to bowl, but she was joking around with the crowd. Seems very loose here. She's got her sponsor. She is on the Columbia 300 staff. Her sponsors, Connie Smoot, who is the Vice President of International Sales, is on hand here. Dave Smart. These people are here really pulling for her, and she's joking around with them.
Go ahead. On Wednesday, November 2, we'll be showing you the Great Lakes PBA Classic. It takes place at Welsh Auditorium in Wyoming, Michigan. Join Mike Durbin and Denny Schreiner as we cover the action. Walter Ray Williams, Jr., the defending champion. And that was a difficult miss for Aleta.
Aleta coming in a little high, almost left the 6-8 again. Now she left it once last match. We saw her almost leave it again for the third time.
And she gets the spare in the second. So that puts her 11 pins up after two. Len Holmquist, the promotional director here at Holiday Lanes, helped warm up our crowd before the start of the program. We're grateful for that.
He does like the microphone. You had to hear him in the pro-ams. He was pushing everything he had around here. Also, the general manager, Bob Lesperance, did a wonderful job. And the hospitality that this place shows the ladies, it's just a very nice event to be a part of.
Also have to give a lot of credit. They sold out the house for the qualifying rounds. I mean, it was a really packed place. And all can fall in the third.
And there's Bob Lesperance, as I just mentioned, general manager.
Nice job, Bob. He'll be presenting the trophy at the end of this program. So a strike, spare strike for Sill. Tish Johnson working on a strike in the second. Leaves the seventh.
And this is the match, John, we were talking about in the opening. Now they're 5-5 in their 10 televised appearances. Tish just out averaging Aleta, 219 at each other. Aleta averaging 218 for Tish. They've been at it since 1980.
And what contrasting character they show on the lanes. Tish talking to the crowd, looking at the scoreboard, gesturing to the whole group. Aleta Sill, once again, the ice woman, just sits quietly by.
Tish right now is trying to keep herself loose. Her last title came Sandstown Invitational in 1992. It's been 2 long years for her.
Ooh, and it looked like the 4 just nicked the 7, but didn't knock it down.
Average on the television pair, 217 for Tish. It was 199 for Aleta, so a big difference in averages for these two players. Again, the different styles, even though they're both left-handed, they play the lanes very differently.
Sill working with a 12-pin lead, bowling in the 4th. She has a strike in the 3rd. Michigan Hall of Fame member, elected in 1992. And she just now put all 3 legs to her Triple Crown a couple of weeks ago in Wichita. She won the U.S. Open. And now her current goal is to win it twice. We had a chance to talk to Aleta Sill and asked her to recall her greatest matches with Tish Johnson and perhaps a disappointment.
My memory is 92 U.S. Open. That was a really hard victory to lose. I felt like I bowled a great game and I lost. And I still have not watched that tape. And I usually watch win or lose. I watch all my shows. And I still haven't watched that one. That one really hurt a lot.
Certainly a heartbreaker at that time. Aleta Sill was missing just that 1 leg of the Triple Crown. Tish Johnson went Brooklyn twice in the 10th to steal it from her. But now Aleta Sill has got 3 strikes in a row. Tish Johnson working on 2 spares. Now in the 5th, she finds herself 32 pins back. Oh, and Tish raised both hands, signaling a touchdown, and it wasn't there. They're not falling for her.
She said, this reminds me of last night. Solid pocket hit. For right-handers, it's like leaving a solid 7-pin. In this case, the 6-pin just blew right over the 10. 11 of Tish's 18 titles have come from the top seed position.
She converts in the 5th, finding herself now 33 pins back. Spare, 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 with another frame still to come. Tish crosses over to 41, the luckier of the 2 lanes throughout this evening.
Former Player of the Year, 1992, also 1992 Bowling Writers Association Bowler of the Year. She is currently 9th in earnings this year with $39,000 and 10th in average. She's averaging 209.
There's the strike in the crowd. Connie Smoot with the host company, Columbia 300 Incorporated. She's Vice President of International Sales, and we'll see her later in the program presenting a check of $13,500 to the winner.
And watch the shot as she comes up a little bit light. Head pin off the wall. 5-pin, 4-pin. Here's the animated, the emotional Tish Johnson we talked about. She is dancing them away.
A lot of fun to watch. In fact, both these athletes are the top 3 all-time career money winners. Aleta Sill leaving the split. She is the all-time career money leader, $620+ thousand in her career. Tish Johnson, number 3 overall, with over $540,000 in her career. A victory here will allow Aleta to break $100,000 for the year. Can she get it?
Oh, nice try. She was trying to slide the 6-pin and the 4-pin into the 10. I'm getting confused watching these left-handers bowl, calling the pins by numbers here. Tish is now checking the scoreboard. Oh, she just caught herself sticking her tongue out at someone. Obviously, someone said something. Good move, Tish.
Well, she's being herself, and that ought to work for her. Off the open frame. Leaving the 6.
Again, hits the pocket on lane 41. She's struck now every shot on 41, 42 being the problem.
Oh, getting a little emotional reaction there.
Well, as I mentioned, after she throws the ball, you'll start seeing a little bit of emotion. But it's more in just like a little hand gesture, mouthing something to the pin.
So a spare in the 7th. Now Tish working on that strike. And they all fall down. John Falzone watching, and certainly a major player, the president of the LPBT. Take a look at our scoreboard so far. Tish now within 6 pins. 2 strikes running, going for the turkey in the 8th.
She can take the lead here with a strike.
Dance around the 7, denying her that opportunity.
And there's not much better way of throwing the ball. She's leaving the solid 7. She left the packed 10 on 42. She cannot be disappointed so far with this. I know she is. She's frustrated, but she knows she's thrown it good. I heard her just think, God, it would just go. That was close. She's walking on the tiptoe line, showing she is playing to the crowd tonight.
Dancing on eggshells.
That's right. Aleta Sill staring at the rack, making sure she's going to shoot it, taking that extra time. Now she's left the 6-8, went high. Last time she left the 4-7-10, again went extremely high. She's going to have to make some type of adjustment. The center of the lane's hooking a little bit more. Aleta Sill's got the type of game. She likes to go down the boards and a little bit towards the pocket.
Gets them all.
In contrast, Tish Johnson swings the ball more.
Take a look at the scoreboard. Should remind you, Aleta Sill has won 2 tournaments this year. A victory here puts her in very close running with Anne-Marie Dugan for Player of the Year. Tish Johnson has not won a tournament since 1992. In Sam Stand, you see it on the sleeve of her shirt there. The tournament sponsor, a very major player, and of course the focus of attention will be in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks for the 3rd major of the year.
And also the home of our umbrella sponsor on the Ladies Pillars Tour.
Aleta makes it 2 in a row in the 9th, and so she will get to watch. Tish Johnson will finish out her match.
Tish right now trailing by 17, can shoot a possible 2-16 game. It would force Aleta Sill to step up in the 10th frame. Strike. Does not trip the 6-pin. Tish holds out her arms like, okay, what can I do? And this is going to be emotional for Tish. She really wanted to win this. Last night she was talking to us, and she was telling me that, you know, I'm going to win. She was being very confident about winning this event.
.205, the best she can possibly score if she goes off the sheet in the 10th.
Tish is a former champion here in Delaware. She won that title, I believe, in 1990.
Tish wanted to do well here because she is a member of the Columbia 300 Pro staff. They are the sponsor of this event. There's hands up for a strike, starting off her 10th frame.
Well, she throws one more strike. She is going to force Aleta Sill to mark anyway, and Aleta's going to have to step up on lane 42, so there's still a chance. Says, can I just press the reset? Hey, she couldn't throw it any better than that shot, or actually a shot prior to that on lane 41 in the 8th frame as well. She's only missed the pocket one time, and that was in her opening frame when she left the 4-7-10 split. Other than that, she hit the pocket 10 consecutive times.
195, the final score for Tish Johnson. Aleta Sill trying to put it on ice in the 10th. 2 strikes to her credit.
She only needs 8 pins.
And gets them all. That's more than enough necessary to win the winner's paycheck here at the Columbia 300 Delaware Open. We'll be back with more when our coverage returns to the Holiday Lanes in Claymont, Delaware. There she is, the champion, Aleta Sill, wins the final score, 219 to 195. Bob Lefrance, if you'd make the presentation.
Aleta, on behalf of Holiday Lanes and my staff, congratulations.
A nice trophy and a nice pendant. Congratulations, Aleta. Here comes Connie Smoot. Her name is on the check, and she's going to present it to you now.
Aleta, I understand this is going to make a $100,000 bill. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd just like to thank Connie and Columbia for their support over the years with the ladies. They've supported us, and we really, really appreciate it. Len and Bob, Eileen, the fans here, thank you for a great week.
Aleta, I have a quick question. Did you think you'd be in the running for Bowler of the Year? Anne-Marie Dugan had so much success this year.
No, I didn't. Not until I won the Open. And then I thought, if I could just win again and, maybe I would have a chance. So I think it tightened it up a little now.
Sure did.
Certainly did. A chance to win it all, and, of course, setting up a great showdown for the Samstown Major just a couple of weeks away. For my partner, Leila Wagner, I'm John Neighbors saying thank you all for joining us here in Delaware. We'll be back next week. Be sure to follow the tour as it visits the Hammer Easton Open at Country Club Lanes in Baltimore, Maryland. That'll be next Friday at 11:30 Central. Coming up next, professional billiards on ESPN. Stay tuned for the chance to see some three-bank shots. That's the Challenge of Champions from Las Vegas, Nevada.